I'm going to work on a new project. Big Papa gave me the base or the cabinet part of his old Craftsman toolbox, and I'm going to clean this up, paint it, and use it as a craft storage. And then I've got some things that I want to set on the top of this. So the first thing I'm going to do is degrease this. After I've degreased it, I've wiped it all down, and now I'm just going to let it sit in the sunlight and dry completely. Cleaned up pretty good. There wasn't a whole lot of grease in it. It was just really dirty from being in the garage. I went back and forth on whether I want to keep this silver metal handle silver, or if I want to have them painted the same color as when I'm painting the card. I've went back and forth, but I think I finally decided that I'm going to go ahead and leave them silver. So I've got all of those taped off, so I just need to come back in and tape this one off. I went today and picked out my paint colors, and I'm going to do this. Let me see if I can go in out of the sun. It is a textured paint. It kind of looks like a stone. It's called, it just says multicolored, textured, and of course it's by Rust-Oleum. It doesn't have an actual color on it, so I'm not really sure what color it is. But I've done some research, and because this paint is pretty expensive, in order that you don't have to do multiple coats of this, it's suggested to try to find a color that's very similar to it for a base. So that way you paint it your base color, and then you'll go back over it with your textured. So these are pretty close in color. So those are what I chose. And I'm also going to do a little side table, because I want this side table to sit right next to it so that I can put my phonograph on it. First coat is on, and I also have got the table sprayed. This is only one coat. It took one can of spray paint to do both. As you can see, hopefully because of the sun, it's going to take a couple more coats of this to completely cover this. This one is only going to maybe take one coat more. That's it. Altogether, I bought 3 cans for the base coat, and I bought 2 cans for the textured. Now, for the textured, I'm only going to be doing the sides of this cabinet and the front of this cabinet. I'm not going to mess with the back, and I'm not going to mess with the top, because I'm putting a wood top on top of this, and the back is going to be against the wall, so it doesn't need to be textured. And I will probably texture the legs and the top and the front of that table. Second coat is on the table, and it looks pretty good. I don't have to, probably won't have to put another coat. I need to touch up around the base of the legs, but other than that, I think the 2 coats on that will be fine, because I am going to go back over the front only with the texturizing. This is a second coat on the toolbox, and it covered it pretty well. I'll still probably go back over it with one more coat. As far as the back is concerned, I want to make sure that I have enough paint to get a good coverage on the sides and the front. And if I do, then I'll come back and I will finish up the back if I have paint. But I just want to make sure that I have enough to cover the areas that will be visible. I am super stoked the way that this has turned out. I ended up only having to use 2 cans of the base paint and 1 can of the texturizing, and it matches perfectly with this cap. Trying to see if I can get it at an angle where you can actually see the texturizing on this. It feels just like a stone or like a very fine coarse sandpaper, but it really turned out really good. And then the table also turned out pretty good. There's a shadow. I really wish my camera picked up, maybe you can tell that way, this texturizing on this. But yeah, it looks amazing. So I'm just going to let these dry. Then I'm going to peel off the tape here because that's still chrome underneath. And here, these 2 holes from where I took off the Craftsman tag, I have a couple of stones that I'm going to use epoxy and epoxy those on there. Finished our cabinet, and it turned out really good. Big Papa helped me finish the final coats because it was the textured spray paint that I've never worked with, so he helped me do that. Where the Craftsman emblem was that I removed, it left 2 holes on there, so I attached 2 pyramid tiger's eye, and as you can see, I ended up painting those silver handles. I did not like the way that the silver looked when it was done. Then I put my wood top on there, and I set my lava lamp and my Bluetooth speaker, which looks like one of those retro jukeboxes. And here is the table next to it that I have my phonograph on. So I think it turned out pretty amazing. On the inside, I painted a little bit of the inside just so that it wasn't a bright flash of red, but I didn't do more than 2 coats of that, and it works out perfect for this craft table.